Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about Acumatica, basically what we would call an executive overview. Um, my name is Jasper Harlar, and the company is Resolve Partners ERP. So if we flip to the next slide here, the key features. What is Acumatica? Acumatica is actually a cloud-based solution, natively born in the cloud, but does have the opportunity to be provisioned or set up in a multitude of different ways. So, for instance, you can purchase Acumatica as a traditional SaaS subscription via the cloud. All of the nuts and bolts and maintenance, etc., is managed by Acumatica itself directly. You can also choose to have it installed locally on a server, SQL Server primarily, and then provisioned and stood up within your own environment. The experience will be the same. It'll be a browser-based, whether you stand it up within your own organization or you choose to purchase directly from Acumatica. Third option potentially would be through one of the accelerators, an Azure or an Amazon provider. Okay. Solutions designed for SMBs or small, medium-sized businesses, anywhere, I like to say, from 0 to 150, $200 million. And then, of course, if you think about the data set, it's real-time access, right? Bit of an older term, but does come up once in a while still, where people are concerned whether or not it's being replicated versus being real-time access to Microsoft SQL database. So some of the key features included in the solution, we're going to see that today, are in and around financial management, CRM, project accounting, inventory and order management, which and manufacturing distribution, reporting dashboards, as well as mobile access. Mobile access, I don't have a system set up to provision or show that today, but I can definitely pull up a website to show you what the mobile access feature looks like. It is limited in scope because of the landscape available on a cell phone or that type of device. But if you were to use a larger, let's say an iPad or screen, etc., or a Surface, a mobile Surface, you can have the same experience. Just keep in mind, though, that it either has to be locally accessed through your network, inside your network as an IP address, or through some cellular function. So why choose Acumatica? As I mentioned earlier at the outset, it's cloud, native cloud, born in the cloud, highly scalable. Okay. User-friendly interface for sure since the 2025 R1 release. They've redone the interface as well. Very, very crisp, pleasant on the eyes, and very, very straightforward as far as how it's set out, and very intuitive to read and use. Cost effective, so no per user license fees. This is kind of where we differentiate ourselves from a lot of those other players in the market, which traditionally are user based, whether named or concentric user. Uh, Acumatica takes a different approach, so it's a consumption model. It's a little harder to explain, but the premise or the idea is to ensure that you're paying for what you're using versus having some users that are light users and other users that are heavier users, and ending up to pay for that use case where you're not utilizing it to the best of your ability. Real-time analytics and insights, so very beautiful dashboards natively built within the solution. So we talked a little bit about the deployment and accessibility. So via browser, fully cloud-based or hybrid, so on-premise and cloud provision by yourself. There's a strong focus as well on data security and business continuity. So talking a little bit more about the integration capabilities, we've got a Power BI interface, Salesforce and HubSpot, Microsoft, of course, and then big part of what we do on the Acumatica side is our integration to e-commerce sites, Shopify and BigCommerce, for instance. And of course, a very open API for custom integrations. We have a whole ecosystem of other solutions that integrate quite handily into the Acumatica environment. The other thing that's different about Acumatica as well versus some of the other players is there's what we would call flavors, different flavors. So if you manufacturer, you typically are a distributor, but you're not necessarily, your ERP solution doesn't necessarily play well in the construction market. We've got a very, very heavy footprint in the construction market. And the construction market really has some very unique needs with respect to how things are accounted for when you think about project-based accounting, or you think about time-based billing or takeoffs, estimations, etc. Construction is very different from, let's say, manufacturing and distribution environment. We've also got a very unique setup with respect to retail and e-commerce. We mentioned BigCommerce and Shopify as well. And then again, the last one is the professional services. So think, utilizations, dollar pay per hour, power by hour, that sort of thing. Okay, a couple different success stories here. XYZ Manufacturing improved in productivity by 30% using Acumatica real-time dashboards. So next steps, we're going to pop into the application and have a quick peek at Acumatica. So if we go to the front end and drop back out of the sales order where we started there, you'll notice there's quite a number of different favorites here that are saved. You'll notice the interface as well. You've got the menu structure or workstations or work places along the left. You've also got a couple more available here. You can tweak as well as what you see here, and then on a per user basis, these individuals will, this menu will shrink or expand based on what access point the individual user has. You can see the user that's currently logged in here. Okay, you can see the current date that the system is operating under. So for instance, if you're doing a financial transaction and you're going in reverse from a different period, as long as that period's open, and as long as you have the user rights and security, you can make a transaction happen in a previous period. Okay, so very much not a closed system, but a very open system, but do care and attention taken with respect to access points. And then of course you can also see the individual company that you're in. If you wanted to flip to a different company, again, if you have the user rights to access that individual company, you can simply drop into either the parent company or the company itself, or a branch within the company. Okay, so what we're seeing here are 3 different entities, and we're seeing branches under each of those different entities. Okay, so very, very, very straightforward interface. Again, we come back to the sales order here. Things like, for instance, minimizing what's shown on the header, accessing the individual features that is simply hitting this drop down again. And then if we were to enter a sales order, for instance, very straightforward proposition to add an individual row. Of course, we need a customer here. So if we entered a customer, okay, that will pull the customer details particular to that customer for the sales order. And then it's simply a matter of entering a particular inventory item, lookups of the inventory item. You can either do that, or as is more traditional now, you can hit the first couple letters of the individual inventory item, select it from a list that's most representative of what you want, select the individual quantity, pricing, etc., and fill in the additional details, hit save, and you've got a sales order. Okay. Acumatica does a really, really good job of providing a unified experience. So indeed, if I would flip to a purchase order and do a new purchase order, again, using the favorites, I can again select an individual. I'm going to select the first vendor, and then it's a matter of adding an individual line. And again, you can either select it here, Apple Jam, or you can simply type in the individual item and select it from there. And then select the quantity, hit save, you've got a purchase order. Okay, so very, very intuitive, very, very straightforward individual interface to the solution. Heavy on individual dashboards as well. So for instance, if we look at, again, these are all highly configurable. So if we look at the sales manager here, just take a minute to load that. There it comes. First load, I guess, that's not sitting in the cache. You can see the individual tiles here that representative of different information. I like to think about it as information that's um, helps you do your job day to day, or individual KPIs, key performance indicators that indicate how things are going. Again, they can be configured on a per user basis, on a per dashboard basis, but simply if we were to look at open orders, we can select this tile, drill down, and we can see that immediately. We can see that individual order that we had just entered earlier. If I click down and drill down into that individual order, we'll come back to that individual item that we just ordered. Okay, and then we can just flip back to where we were. Excuse me, dashboards. We'll go back to Sales Manager. And again, operating very much like a browser. So if I hit select and replicate it or duplicate it, pardon me, I'll see it inside the browser here. Okay, those are current sales orders, profitability, etc., etc. Hope you like the quick interview to Acumatica. Any questions, please do let me know. Thank you.